have your approval. With Rock and Folk, they have this thing called Disco-rama.
Yeah,
where an artist talks about his, like, every record that he's done.
Sure.
And so I brought the Clash, sleeves that I have.
Okay, cool.
Maybe you want to do it backwards, so we start with this and then we work our way back.
Oh, start with that. What do you think?
No, it's up to you. It depends what you want to talk.
It's up to you.
All right, let's start with the 101.
Okay, good.
Well, this is that French thing, but I haven't got Elgin Avenue Breakdown.
Yeah.
Was that pretty much your first time in a recording studio ever?
Yes, to make Keys to Your Heart. Yeah. The studio was so funny because you had to bend over. There was a small room with sloping pathway, it was called, but somehow the walls sloped in because it was in a sort of cellar, and to sing and play the guitar you had to slightly bend over from the waist to allow the drums room. Yeah, but it was still very impressive.
Was it like a lifelong dream?
Yeah, if you've never been in a studio before, it's like being in Wonderland, isn't it? You know, especially. I have to really stress this, that although people think of it today, we didn't really have the intelligence to think that we could make a record. I know that sounds crazy, but back in that day, you just, you played gigs, and you played more gigs, and it never occurred to me that we could make a record. So when they said, hey, do you want to cut a record? I thought the guy was joking. You know, it seemed to be something that other people did, or that shows how far down we were. That we couldn't even.
You were a pretty hot band though in London, right?
I know, but even so, it never occurred. It was just the way the world was then, or maybe, like, putting out a record seemed to be an incredibly difficult, or so much so that it just never occurred to us. You know, we could have put out our own record. You know.
Which is, yeah.
I mean, we just, I don't know. We were living very hand to mouth, you see, so just getting gasoline to get to the next gig was the big problem. Never mind
never mind getting the record out.
Trying to get some money to book a studio. I'm surprised that we didn't think of it.
So the Elgin Avenue Breakdown album only came out like years later, right?
Yeah, years later.
So you recorded that stuff during the short.
A lot of the album, I don't have it in front of me, but a lot of the album was recorded on a cassette tape.
Oh yeah.
You know, on a ghetto blaster like thing, and also at live gigs. You know, recorded off the desk on a cassette tape, and also we did some. We went to a studio. Vic Mail was the name of the guy. And we went to a studio, and we must have tried some recording that never came to anything, but I think we managed to collect it all together. Someone sent me a copy of it the other day. I was really happy to get it on vinyl.
Oh yeah, it's really pricey. God, yeah. And then you moved on to this lot of...
Right, and then so... Basically, I knew we were getting nowhere with the 101ers. You know, we're working really hard, gigging, but we didn't have any idea of what we were doing. And we were doing the same as everybody else. Like, basically, bar, you know, play Route 66 in a bar. And so, when Bernie Rhodes came to me and said, come and meet these two guys, I thought, yes, you know, here's something different. You know, and also having played with the Sex Pistols a couple of weeks before, or in the same month, I could definitely see that at last there was a way forward. You know, something had changed in it. Because the pub rock scene had been going on for fucking years. You know, we were latecomers to it, really. It had been going on, well, for 5 years, I would think, without really changing. So it was high time for a change.
Evolving as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that was for me, it was a great liberation to meet Nick and Paul and to change the music, you know. That was great.
You started writing songs immediately, right, together?
Yeah, immediately, yeah. Well, he's so talented, it's really great writing with him, yeah. Really great. A genuine tunesmith.
In a Mick Ronson type of tradition, sort of that imagines the architecture of the song, yeah?
Definitely, and a tunesmith. They're hard to find, tunesmiths. They're a strange breed of people.
So how was the recording of that? That was at the CBS studio, right? Where the Stooges recorded?
Yeah, number 3. So that would be the top floor. So you're basically looking at a very large studio for orchestras on the ground floor, and then a decent-sized one on the second floor, and then at the top, a crap one. Yeah. And so they put us up there. And we didn't know at the time that they'd made raw power in that room. That would have, we'd have liked it, that. Well, I liked it when I found out later, but we made that very quickly because we rehearsed everything down so much.
Yeah.
We really done maybe nearly a full year of rehearsing or half a year.
Yeah.
So we just banged them off.
Mick said something about being so high on speed that he doesn't even remember recording it.
Yeah, I don't really remember that because Keith Levine had left by then.
Oh yeah.
And that was one of his favourite drugs, was speed. But by that time, I think we'd outgrown it really, because it made you feel so rotten afterwards. I judged it to be a dead loss because the up wasn't worth the down. That's what I made. I can remember making that decision. So, but we did make it fast. But then we knew the stuff, and it was a fairly simple job, really. If you knew the material, it's only bass, drums, 2 guitars.
The one thing I always wanted to ask you, and this is a good occasion to do that, is that there's a different version of White Riot on the record than on the single.
Yeah, I don't know why.
The single one is better, and it's the one that's on all the comps. But if you get the actual British version of this,
yeah,
it's still the old.
I can't remember why. Maybe we re-recorded it.
Well, probably. Huh? And Mickey produced that, right? There's basically your sound guy who just recorded everything as it was.
Yeah, I think Mick Jones and Mickey Foot sort of, and the guy Simon Humphreys was the engineer. The 3 of them were responsible for the sound. Mm-hmm. But it was basically a question of getting it down, bang it down.
There's a big war waged between aging punk rockers like me about what's the better album, Nevermind the Bollocks or the first Clash record, and they'll it's like, oh, Nevermind the Bollocks changed the face of music, but the Clash is punk record rather than Nevermind the Bollocks, which is a rock record with thick guitars and shit.
Yeah.
Would you have any stake?
I don't know. They're both really good records. That's what you can say at the end of the day. They might have spent more time on Nevermind the Bollocks and more. They did it at Wessex, which is a really nice big room at Wessex. We did London Calling there, but lovely big room, like enormous. It's probably one of the biggest rooms in London, actually.
But the ballsy thing about the first Clash record is that there's not layers upon layers of guitars. It's basically it's like it's the remote.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's true.
It feels like almost a '60s garage punk. And it defined the punk sound.
That's true.
Nevermind the Bollocks, they didn't define the punk sound.
But they had Chris Spedding in, so the rumor is to. I don't know. I don't think that he's on the record, but. I wasn't there, so it's hard to say, but
right.
I think that's all Jonesy. I think Steve Jones, but it sounds different. At least we banged that down.
Yeah. The big revolution was the Chili Police and Thieves on that one.
I think so too. I remember that's the moment when I felt that we'd really increased or got somewhere. Because it's one thing knowing all those songs are going wang, but to try something weird, I'm still surprised how we attempted it. When you think of the original, I mean, that's not.
I like the fact that Mick's guitar takes over on the high-pitched end of Junior Movement when you can't reach it.
Yes. Up in the top register. Well, we must have had balls to attempt that, man.
No, you certainly did.
We either had balls or we were stupid.
So now the long-haired record, as it's known in certain circles.
We weren't. This is the second, the second album, Given Enough Rope here, and we weren't ready to make it. I think we'd spent all year making this first record, or writing and rehearsing, And then touring it, the first record. So I remember being took by surprise when they said, right, well, let's discuss the second record. And I can remember going, what? Because it hadn't occurred to me that, yeah. And so this was a very difficult record. I like, on this record, I really like,
Safe European Home.
oh, there's some good ones, yeah. Safe European Home is great. And
Tommy Gunn is pretty
Tommy Gunn, Julie's in the Drug Squad, I like. But Stay Free is brilliant. Yeah, those are really good cuts. But it was difficult, and I think that's the first moment when the record company is beginning to have, this pressure is beginning to bite, because I think they put us with Sandy Pullman to try and make it understandable to the Americans. You know, they thought...
He gets bad press. I mean, people talk about, like, in every biography of The Clash or something, they'll be like, oh, Sandy Pullman, heavy metal producer. He produced... He had punk rock props from the New York scene, I think. He'd been working with... Back then, Blue Oyster Cult was still hip. Because, you know, that dude was going out with Patti Smith.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's not that bad of a record after all.
True.
But I think the fault is more in the songwriting material and certain songs.
Yes, I agree. Because you can hear that we were not prepared to...
Drug Stabbing Time isn't as good as...
Exactly. We had to make it up. Well, we were in a jam. You know, we had to kind of make it up. I think we were a bit exhausted, really, by the whole affair of the previous record.
Yeah, it's a weird sort of vibe of maybe self-grandiose, like all the young punks, the last gang in town, even Stay Free, although it's a beautiful song. It's a weird sort of like, hey, you know, in the Mott the Hoople sort of way.
True, maybe we're becoming rock idiots already. But then we lived and died in rock mythology before, you know, before... You're the same as I am. You know, we like our music and we take it seriously. So me and Mick are the same. So we must have already been steeped in that kind of mythologizing or whatever it is from listening to records since we could walk.
But there was a good lesson for moving on to London Calling, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. Everything went pear-shaped, as they say, after giving enough rope.
You did your first American tour then, right?
Yeah.
It's a weird... I have this theory... I'm sorry.
Go on.
I have this theory about the Clash. Every major move musically that the Clash ever made happened after a US tour.
That's true.
First US tour, and then London Calling comes up. New US tour, and like staying in New York and whatever.
Yeah, straight into Sandinista, yeah.
And then again, you know.
That's true. But there was so we must have toured, given enough rope, and then we fell out with the manager, Bernard Rhodes. So I often think of the London Calling sessions, we were kind of, it was like us against the world in that it had all gone pear-shaped, and people were writing us off, you know, especially back home.
Yeah.
And so
like
we were,
backlash.
Yeah, there was the backlash, and so we were kind of friendless, really. But we just got in a rehearsal room and did 5 months every day of writing and rehearsing.
Did you set out to like reinvent rock and roll at some point?
No. We did it because we didn't know what else to do, and we were looking around for management, so we were kind of on our own. It was just us and the roadies in this room for 5 months, and we forged a lot of bonds actually with the crew.
Probably the best moment you can.
Yeah, it was great, and I liked having that relationship with the crew where they would pull you up if it was crap. You know, it's nice to have people around that are allowed to say to you, you know, this song is rubbish, or what are you doing? That's really nice and tough to have that.
But from the artwork of the album and the the Elvis lettering and everything, and to the whole like the broad range of genres that you tackled, it seemed like it was like we're entering the 80s, It's been 3 decades of rock and roll, really.
Yeah.
We're going to sum them up to you. There's going to be some rockabilly, there's going to be some ska, there's going to be some reggae, there's going to be some punk rock, there's going to be some, like British, like blues, Joe is going to quote from Wrong and Boyo to like some folky shit that and Mick is going to quote from the glam rock thing. It seemed like you summed up everything in one record. And if you want to know about rock and roll, it's either this or Exile on Main Street, but you're going to know.
Right. Mainly that luxury was because Topper could play in any style. So if you try and imagine a drummer that could only play in one style, you'd be stuck a bit by what you could do, So the thrill of that record was discovering that we could play music, kind of strange or Moose Ellison's or just discovering we could play in those styles and hold them together. That was really the thrill of it.
And Paul probably getting into gear as well.
Yeah.
Then you moved on to this little masterpiece.
Okay. Sandinista, the monster.
The test for brave men. Huh?
Oh yeah. Exactly. This sorts out the men from the boys. Disc 1, disc 2, oh my God.
But the vicious thing is that the last one, Shepherd's Delight, is my favorite one.
Is it? Oh no.
It's that beautiful, it's very close. It's a minstrel boy. In the sense that it's sort of this slow hangover morning after. Oh God, what did I do?
That's true. And the main feature of the song is one of those plastic boxes that you turn over,
box,
which actually you can buy in France.
Yep. Don't buy one. Don't put that on your record.
If I see one, I'm going to buy one. What sort of shop would you find it in?
Souvenir shops.
But the big question on this record that people discuss is, I would think, like, should it have been so long or should it have been trimmed down? And this is a question you can't really answer, because imagine if you could compile a single album out of this that would be pretty feisty, but it would leave off all the weird shit.
This is where your Beefheart sort of, the true nature of the beast came out, right? When you sort of decide, let's do this weird kids singing our old 77 songs or something. That was wrong, I think. Career opportunities by Time and Dog's Kids or whoever.
No, it was Mickey Gallagher's Kids, the organ player from the Blockheads, That was crazy.
What, were you too high on whatever you were having?
Weed.
To realise that. But then again, this invented Massive Attack, I think.
Possibly. The most astonishing thing about that record that I heard how it was received was when we finally got to Australia and we went to the Western Territories to Perth. They said that skinheads would take LSD and listen to the whole record all the way through. And I remember thinking, wow, well that's certainly a way to use that record. It never occurred to me that you could imagine doing that. I don't know what it would sound like.
I don't know, it's probably great.
All the way through. I don't know. Anyway, and then on to what?
On to this.
Combat Rock. Okay. This is a very
horrible title.
Yeah, that's my title, sorry. But I did predict. It's funny when you just make a title, and I suggested Combat Rock for the title, and then 2 months later we were at war with Argentina for the Falklands. So
it happened again when you did Earthquake Weather recorded in California. That's when there was the big earthquake in San Francisco.
Yeah, it's strange that.
I always wondered why you chose of all the pictures from that session, which are really good.
Which ones?
Of this session, you chose one where you're hiding your face.
No, it was because
I was wondering if it was a Beatles sort of like.
No, not at all.
Kind of a significance.
All the shots, I think I'm doing that because I find it difficult. You can see we're not wearing shades.
Yeah.
And I'm standing up, so the sun is reflecting off the ground, and like what that feeling when your eyes fill with light, and it's sort of you can't keep them open, and so I was finding it very difficult to keep my eyes open. So most of the shots I was kind of shading my eyes as much as I could, and that one I don't know who picked that really. But yeah, I was just shading my eyes. In fact, I don't know why we didn't have any shades. Weren't we hip? There's not a pair to be seen.
Of all people.
Ah, terrible.
How was the vibe in the band? Not very good, huh?
Huh?
Not very good vibe in the band at that point.
At that point, good, because
Oh yeah.
at the point of this photo took, yeah, the photo, because we'd just done a really good tour in Australia, and we were pretty much on top of our form. But as to the recording session, vibe deterioration from burnout, I think.
Too much in too little time.
Making too many records, doing too many gigs. We kind of burnt out, and that's why some of this it doesn't have the track listing very legible here, does it? But you know, that's why it's a kind of patchy record, because it does have some of my favorites, like Rock the Casbah and Straight to Hell.
And what's my favorite? Fucking the one about heroin with Ginsberg.
Ghetto Defenders.
Yeah.
But this is great. This is totally illegible.
even on vinyl, it's illegible. So.
Yeah. I liked it like that.
And then Mick leaves, and then Cut the Crap comes up.
Yeah.
That's an appropriate title if there ever was one.
I agree. Bernard thought of that title.
God, that speech of his inside the booklet was infuriating.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, there's 4 great songs in this.
Yeah, I like.
This is England.
This is England. That's a nice one.
North and South is fantastic.
Yeah.
3 Card Trick is a great scar.
Yeah, that's a good one. And that's about it. Anything else?
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. We Are the Clash is...
it's rubbish?
Yeah. Dictator isn't very good. Dirty Funk isn't good.
No.
Cool Under Heat.
But this is England, definitely, and 3 Card Trick. Yeah? North and South, yeah.
So there's all kinds of weird stories, apocryphal stories about the recording of this for you.
It was really terrible.
It was a difficult time for you, right?
Yeah, and also... it was... Bernard Rhodes was in charge, and I'd realised that I'd let him take over, and there was no way out because we were in a studio in Munich, and it was strange being there. I had no ties to Munich or knew anyone there, and the studio was on the outskirts of Munich, so it was like being marooned, say, in the Arctic, or in a hut, you know. It was like being marooned. It was.
It's all electronic, and did he take the songs and redo them afterwards and gave himself credit?
Yes. Yeah, you could say that. I mean, I don't want to start any arguments, but by about the end of the session, or near the end, I completely lost it, you know, and realised that...
You had family...
Yeah, but I disappeared, basically, off into the mountains of Spain, and I just left him to it. I didn't want to know anymore, and so I was surprised. Huh?
The tour
was good, yeah, but you know, I left him to it in the end.
So how did the actual name of The Clash get just, you know, tossed in the bin? Did you fire the rest of the other boys?
These?
Yeah.
No, they. After I left, or I physically left the country, they held some auditions for a singer, Paul and Bernie and the others, but they didn't find one, obviously.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's where it lay. But yeah, they had a couple of auditions.
Do you know anybody that?
No, I don't. It's so long ago now. I guess we'll never find out. But
See, Paul never said anybody. Never told that to anyone.
Nah. But at the time, I just shrugged. When I heard that, I just shrugged my shoulders and thought, well, what's done is done, you know.
God, we're almost finished. Not even halfway there. The BAD record, was it sort of patching things?
See the chap man scratching his head?
Yeah.
He play it again, Sam, and he was the one I asked about the flying thing, yeah. So he went up to us, Jordan. We can ask him in a minute what happened.
Apparently I'm supposed to finish now.
Okay, but you see, if we stay on, maybe we can continue later, is what I was getting at.
Okay.
Do you think?
He's doing so. Well, Let's talk for another 5 minutes.
Okay, yeah.
You co-produced and co-wrote half that BAD record in '86, yeah?
Yeah, that was interesting because I met Mick in the street and he said, hey, we're in a jam, get on board and we've got I think he had a deadline or he had to make a record.
Great record.
I liked a lot of that record. It was fun really making that record.
They were really good. They're a really good band for a while.
Yeah, they were great. All great players. Eventually they fell out, didn't they? But at the time it was sweet.
It's a funny thing because it seems like every 7 years Mick gets kicked out of whatever band he's in.
That's true. It's a 7-year itch.
Yeah.
Oh dear me. That's not good.
So good. Well, maybe it's good.
Yeah,
Good lifespan.
it keeps life fresh, doesn't it? I mean, you've got to get on with it. You've got to go forward.
And then you moved on to Earthquake Weather, where you auditioned like the cream of the crop, the LA punk scene. It's an LA record, isn't it?
Yes, completely, because I was hanging out there and I saw the cool musicians, or was introduced to them or met them, and the whole thing was LA. It was good to get away from London, I think, maybe, after operating there for so long.
It's kind of weird to hear Joe Strummer, like we're used to like Shepherd's Bush and Notting Hill, and all of a sudden it's Hollywood Boulevard and
Yes.
It's beautiful songs in it. I don't like that bass player though.
Lonnie.
Yeah, too funky.
Maybe too funky. But
like slapping.
also, it's my fault too for turning down the vocal.
Yeah.
See, I shouldn't. Even I can't hear the vocal.
Exactly. It's great ballads on it.
Yeah.
Did you have in mind?
I wrote that all in one go. Yeah.
Did you have in mind to a sort of like long-spanning solo career, which is like a Springsteen type of thing, or?
No, I didn't have anything in mind, to be honest. I just thought I'd try it to see if to make a record, because it had been a while since making one, so I thought I'd try it and see what it's like. I mean, really, it was the touring after the record that convinced me to give up.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why that?
Well,
It's a great tour.
yeah, but I remember I got back to London after the tour, which we did, and the guy phoned me up and he said, well, I'm doing the accounts and you're 24 grand in the hole. Yeah? And I remember thinking, I was sitting there completely mentally and physically exhausted, yeah, after really touring a lot. And I'm thinking, why didn't I just get 24 grand and tear it up? Instead of completely fucking yourself totally, mentally, physically, and losing 24 grand. I don't know, it was just sort of that moment. I thought, fuck this,
Well, yeah.
Because, when you're out of favour, it's tough out there, huh?
Yeah, but you had a great tour. I've got bootlegs of those shows. I went to, an 89 show in Paris, and I think probably one of the factors that made you want to not go on was that hooligan story, right?
The hooligan?
The hooligan story, when you were like giving props to.
Oh yeah. To our football fans, yeah.
But I like at least half the songs are just probably your greatest.
They're really cool, some of these. God, things are tiny these days. Yeah, I shouldn't have turned down the vocal. Never mind.
Yeah, well.
Never mind. What can you do?
Which brings us to Walker.
All right, yeah, which we don't have.
Which we don't have.
Because it's
CD.
impossible to find.
I've got on vinyl.
Anyway, we should find out about this.
On finit sa phrase et on resume.
Say what?
You'll finish your sentence.
Okay, yeah.
So you talk, I won't talk anymore.
Okay,
You'll just move on from Walker.
Yeah, Walker, if no one reading this has never heard it, then A, you can't find it, and B, it's quite good. Where are we? We've got to rush on, or what?
Pretty much, yeah, just there's that and Permanent Record, which is
Permanent Record, which is just
sort of
strange.
Great, no, it's great fucking rock and roll.
A bit of rock and roll, and then what after that? Then Walker, then Rock Art and the X-Ray Style.
10 years after that.
11.
11?
Well, I always say 11. I don't know why. But and now we're here at Global A Go-Go, which we haven't discussed at all. But
well, our after a British record like Rock Hard,
Yeah.
it's a world record again.
Yeah, I think maybe we did a lot of touring, or it's playing on my World Service radio show that makes me check out a lot of different records, you know, because you're aware if you're playing, if you've got if the radio station is being broadcast around the world, there's a lot of different people listening to it, you know, and that broadens your mind. Well, it's began to sink into mine.
So it's not the other way around, it's not the music that fuels your inspiration, it's the fact that you played this music to the world that sort of...
Well, but and the fact that I had to go and search out different music in order to play it to the world, because you realise that, say, in any country, you know that you're playing mostly to people like yourself, but if they can hear it in Bombay or Indonesia...
You gotta think, I ain't gonna play...
Well, it's quite a thing, you know, so... yeah, it encourages you to play all kind of music, really, because there's all kind of people listening. You know, you have to. Yeah. Where's my...
Most people can identify